Be excellent to each other. Bill and Ted, 1989? Or was it the Apostle Paul in around 65 AD? Listen to Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 32. Be kind, be good, and yes, you really could translate it, be excellent to each other. Tender-hearted, forgiving one another, just as Christ has also forgiven you. A friend of mine recently asked me what my pastoral perspective on the recent refugee crisis was, and I'm grieved. And I'll tell you, I'm not so much grieved about the crisis per se, although there certainly is more than enough to be upset about as far as that goes. But I'm not so much grieved about the crisis itself per se. I'm much more grieved about our reaction to it, more particularly to the church's reaction to it. And I use the word reaction, not response, on purpose, because in my mind, what response to the refugee crisis would look like would involve far less debate surrounding which refugees can actually come to the United States, and would involve much more actual going to said refugees. But we can't even have that discussion because we Christians are too busy tearing one another down and defining ourselves by which side of President Trump we stand on, rather than defining ourselves by our common identity in Christ. Uncle Screwtape got us good this week, church. And whatever side of the political aisle you prefer to sit on, I think we're all going to agree that the coming years will be much more polarizing and much more divisive than any in at least recent history. And if the church in America is going to survive, we need to return to being excellent to each other.
Excellent!
We have to get back to applying the simple, pure gospel of Jesus Christ, like Paul says in Ephesians 4, forgiving one another just as God in Christ has forgiven you. Now here's a crazy idea. What if Christians became known in this country not so much for their particular voting patterns, but for their overwhelming propensity to treat other people just as they believe they have been treated by Christ? The golden rule, by the way, whatever you wish others would do to you, that's what you should do to others. That's a summary of the law, by the way, not the gospel. Check it out, Matthew 7:12. And that's well and good and fine, but the gospel of Jesus does not say, do to others what you wish they would do to you. The gospel of Jesus says, do to others as God in Christ has done for you. And that means treating people with grace. This is how people will know that you're my disciples, Jesus said. This is how people will know that you're my followers, my apprentices, my learners, my students, by the love that you have for one another. See, I don't have to quote you the ugly things I've seen this week on social media. You've seen them too. And this is why I'm so concerned. See, I don't see any relief in sight. I'm confident that our president will continue to enact new laws, some of which will be worse than others. And I have precisely zero ability to influence or change our president. But you see, how I treat others, whether they're from a different country, or of a different ethnicity, or from a different belief system, or have a different orientation, or even if they like the Los Angeles Dodgers, I can still love them. And no law, even signed by the pen of the most powerful person on this planet, can take away my ability or my responsibility to love them. This refugee crisis, interestingly enough, has already left most of our minds. Monday it was this nuclear shockwave. Today, there's barely a hint of it left on Facebook or Twitter. That's how quickly things come and go these days. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a post about Pokemon Go or somebody dump a bucket of ice over their head? The next blow-up is probably less than a month away. And Christians, we're going to have another opportunity to respond. So my plea, my encouragement, my exhortation is, let's respond well. Let's respond in love. Let's respond with joy in our hearts that flows from our confidence in our loving, gracious, sovereign God. Let's be excellent to each other and, well, you know.